I'll be with you in just a minute. Sorry to leave you sitting out here. I don't know where that girl went."
He swiveled his head back in my direction, still not stepping out from behind the door.
"Can I help you, miss?"
"Rebecca Lull, I've got an appointment." Just then, a slender young woman in a pale green dress came in from the hallway, eyes widening as she looked around the room. She actually squeaked, "Oh!" before she hurried to the desk and began flipping through a printed-on paper appointment book. Sorry, I was just..." She blushed so hard her ears turned pink. It would have been cute if she hadn't looked so terrified. She had to be 21 or 22, not much younger than me, but she seemed like she'd wandered in from junior high. She glanced at the old guy, who nodded, then looked up at Doris and said, "You can go right in. Mr. Howard will see you now." So the old guy was Mr. Howard, the lawyer I'd come all this way to see, and screw him for double booking the slot for my appointment. I'd burned up rubber and road to get here on time after leaving Chicago a day later than I'd planned. The most common gift at a going-away party is a hangover, and I'd needed yesterday to recover. And racist grandma got to jump the line? Doris took her time gathering her handbag and rising from the chair, then went past me to the door. The old guy was holding it open all chivalrously/patronizingly, which maybe Doris appreciated. As she passed me, she whispered, "I just love mariachi music," and left me with that useful bit of information, along with watering eyes from the intensity of her personal cloud of lavender perfume. Then Doris and Old Man Howard disappeared into the office, door clicking closed after them. I marched up to June's desk, and even though I should have felt some kinship with her as a fellow woman working as best she could against the constraints of the kyriarchy and all that, I just gave her the dead-eyed death stare I learned from my mom and said, "I'm Rebecca Lull. I have an appointment with Mr. Howard right now." She looked alarmed. Actually, she looked like a rabbit watching the approach of a justifiably confident fox, and flipped through the appointment book, then visibly relaxed. "You mean Trey? Just a minute." She went to the other door, the one to the right of her desk, and tapped on the glass. Mr. Howard, your 4:30 is here." The door opened, and a man stood there smiling at me, wearing a white shirt with suspenders. First time I'd seen suspenders worn non-ironically by anyone under age 40, probably, and neatly pressed black slacks. I suddenly felt even more rumpled than I had before, and wished I'd found a moment to change out of the jeans and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago sweatshirt I'd driven in. I can take or leave boys, but when they look like my new lawyer did, taking them starts to seem a lot more appealing. He was clearly some relative to the elder Mr. Howard, either a late-in-life son or a grandson, and looking old enough to be a grad student, maybe. He was cute, in a blonde and rugged ex-jock kind of way. Considering my complaints about random waiting room racism, I shouldn't admit this, but I'm just as prone to bad assumptions as anyone, and at first glance I resisted my attraction on the grounds that he was probably a grown-up frat guy, the larval stage of the old boy network type, on the cusp of full metamorphosis. I'm a sucker for broad shoulders, but they have to be attached to the right kind of guy. "Ms. Lull?" He opened his door wider and stepped aside. "Please come into my office." "Thank you, June," I said to the receptionist, and she looked startled, probably not used to anything but being ignored or abused, before she nodded and went back to her desk, taking one more not-so-surreptitious peek behind her. I wondered if Mr. Howard, the younger, noticed how she looked at him, with all the reverence and wonder of a caveman staring at a fire. He was clearly her type. My own reservations aside, I could see her point. I went into the office, which was small and dominated by a wooden desk older than the elder Mr. Howard, the walls lined with bookshelves, holding the expected leather-bound tomes of legalese. There were a few personal touches, though, and they weren't signed footballs or photos of Republican politicians. Rather, Trey had a row of miniature canopic jars lined up on